The first thing I notice is how my son can't hold his water glass steady. Benjamin's hand trembles, just slightly, just enough that the ice cubes clink against the crystal in a rhythm that doesn't match the soft jazz playing from the Sullivans' expensive sound system. He's 32 years old, built his own tech company from nothing, commanded boardrooms full of investors twice his age. But tonight, sitting across from me at his in-laws' dining table, he looks like the little boy who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. "Beverly, more wine?" Margaret Sullivan's voice cuts through my observation. She's already pouring before I answer, her smile practiced and pleasant, the kind of smile you perfect after decades of charity galas and country club luncheons. "Just a splash, thank you." I watch the dark red liquid swirl into my glass, but I don't drink. Something in my gut, call it mother's intuition, call it 30 years as an ER nurse, tells me I need to stay sharp tonight. The chandelier above us hums with a frequency that shouldn't be audible, but somehow is. Everything in this house is expensive, curated, pristine. The kind of home that looks like it belongs in a magazine because it probably has. Cream-colored walls, abstract art that costs more than my annual retirement income, furniture that you're afraid to actually sit on. Benjamin hasn't touched his food. His fork rests beside his plate at the exact angle he placed it 5 minutes ago. Sierra, his wife of 3 years, cuts her chicken into perfect little squares with mechanical precision, each piece exactly the same size. Her father, Richard Sullivan, sits at the head of the table like a king surveying his kingdom. Former corporate attorney, early retirement at 60, the kind of man who's used to winning. "So, Benjamin," Richard begins, swirling his wine glass, "have you given any more thought to what we discussed?" My son's jaw tightens. It's subtle. You'd miss it if you didn't know him the way I do. "I'm still reviewing the documents." It's been 3 weeks. This from Trevor, Sierra's younger brother. He slouches in his chair, tie loosened, third beer of the evening sweating on the tablecloth. There's a meanness in his eyes that reminds me of boys I knew growing up, the kind who pulled wings off butterflies. "These things take time," Benjamin says quietly. "Time we don't have." Richard sets down his glass with deliberate care. "The market waits for no one. The restructuring needs to happen now, while we have the advantage." I don't know what restructuring they're talking about. Benjamin hasn't mentioned any business changes to me, but the way everyone's eyes flick toward him, then away, tells me this isn't really about business at all. That's when it happens. Benjamin's hand finds mine under the table. His palm is cold. Not cool. Cold. Like he's been holding ice. His fingers wrap around mine with a pressure that borders on painful, and his thumb taps against my wrist. 3 times. Quick, sharp, deliberate. Our old signal. The one we used when his father was dying, and Benjamin was trying to be strong in front of the doctors, but falling apart inside. "Help me. I'm scared. I need you." My heart rate kicks up, but I keep my face neutral. Years of delivering bad news to families in emergency rooms taught me how to control my expression. I squeeze back gently. "I'm here. I've got you." "Mom," he says, his voice carrying just to me under the cover of Margaret asking Trevor about job prospects. "I need you to check your phone." I slip my hand into my purse on my lap, fingers finding my iPhone. The screen lights up with 3 notifications, all from my bank. Transfer complete. 16,666 transfer complete. 16,666 666 transfer complete. 16,666 666 $50 million. The total value of his company Benjamin built himself, working 18-hour days, sleeping on his office couch, believing in something when everyone else called him crazy. My hand freezes. I look up at him, questions forming, but he shakes his head, barely a movement, just enough for me to see. "The money is yours now," he whispers, his lips hardly moving. "Irrevocable trust. They can't touch it." "Benjamin, what?" "Please, Mom." His eyes are wet. My strong, capable son has tears threatening to spill, and he's fighting them back with everything he has. Just trust me. Don't argue. Don't ask questions. Not here. Under the table, he presses something into my other hand. Small rectangular, no bigger than my thumb. A USB drive. His fingers curl around mine, holding it there. The password is Dad's Day. He breathes. You'll know when. August 14th, the day we scattered my husband's ashes in the Pacific Ocean. Benjamin was 12 years old, crying so hard he couldn't breathe, and I held him on that beach until sunset. Of course I'd remember. Have you tried the Brussels sprouts, Beverly? Sierra's voice snaps my attention back to the table. She's looking at me with those pale blue eyes that used to seem sweet back when she and Benjamin first started dating. Now they just seem calculating. They're from the farmer's market. Organic. They're lovely, I manage, though I haven't eaten a single thing. Richard stands abruptly. Excuse me, I need to make a call. He doesn't wait for acknowledgement, just walks out toward the hallway that leads to his study. I notice he takes his phone from his pocket before he's even out of the room. Whatever call he's making, he planned it in advance. Margaret dabs her napkin at the corners of her mouth. More wine, anyone? Trevor drains his beer. I'll take another. Sierra's knife scrapes against her plate, a sharp, grating sound that makes my teeth hurt. Benjamin flinches. I pocket the USB drive, tucking it deep into my jacket. The weight of $50 million sits in my bank account like a stone. Benjamin didn't just transfer his money to me. He gave me everything. His whole life's work. His security. His future. Why would he do that unless he thought he didn't have a future? The thought hits me like a physical blow. I study my son's face, really look at it. The circles under his eyes aren't just from long work hours. The weight he's lost isn't from stress. The way he keeps glancing toward the garage door like he's measuring the distance to an exit. That's fear. Pure animal fear. Actually, Benjamin says, pushing back from the table, I need some air. Long day. Sit down. Richard has returned from the hallway, and his voice carries an authority that makes even me straighten in my chair. We're not finished. I just need 5 minutes. I said sit down. The room goes quiet. Even the jazz seems to lower in volume. Sierra places her hand on Benjamin's arm, her fingers tight enough to leave marks. Baby, your father's right. We need to finish our discussion. He's not my father, Benjamin says softly. The temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. Richard walks slowly back to his seat, but he doesn't sit. He stands behind his chair, hands resting on the back of it. No, I'm not, but I am family, and family takes care of each other. That's why we're all here tonight, to take care of important family matters. The estate planning, Margaret adds gently. It's for everyone's benefit, Benjamin. For Sierra's security, for your future children. We don't have children, Benjamin says. Not yet, Sierra counters. But when we do, don't you want to know they'll be provided for? I watch this exchange like a spectator at a tennis match, my head swiveling back and forth. But I'm not just watching, I'm cataloging. Margaret's hands twisting her napkin under the table. Trevor's eyes locked on the garage door. Richard's jaw muscle jumping in a steady rhythm. Sierra's fingernails digging crescents into my son's forearm. They're coordinated, rehearsed. This whole dinner was planned, choreographed down to the wine selection and the organic Brussels sprouts. They brought me here as an audience, or maybe as leverage. Benjamin stands up anyway, despite Richard's command. His chair scrapes loudly against the hardwood floor. Excuse me, I need to get something from my car. This time, no one stops him. He bends down, kisses the top of my head. His lips are cold against my hair. I love you, he whispers. You raised me right. Remember that, okay? Remember I made my own choices. My throat closes. Those sound like goodbye words. Final words. Ben, but he's already walking away, his footsteps echoing across the hard wood, then muffled as he hits the carpet in the hallway. I hear the side door open, the one that leads to the garage. A rectangle of light spills across the darkened hallway, and I see his silhouette, just for a moment. He turns back, raises his hand in a small wave. Smiles, that heartbreaking smile that's haunted me since he was a little boy who thought he could fix everything, even things that couldn't be fixed. Then the door closes. "He'll be back," Sierra says, reaching for her wine. "He always comes back." But something in her voice tells me she's not entirely certain. I should go after him. Every instinct I have screams at me to follow my son, to demand answers, to protect him the way I always have. But the USB drive in my pocket feels like a lead weight, and his words echo in my head. "Just trust me. Don't argue. Not here." So I sit. I sip water I don't taste. I listen to Margaret make small talk about the weather and the new restaurant opening downtown, and Sierra's upcoming promotion at work. I watch the clock on the wall tick forward. 7 minutes, 8, 9. At 12 minutes, Richard stands again. "I'll go check on him." "No." The word comes out sharper than I intend. 3 pairs of eyes turn to me. "I mean, give him space. He said he needed air." Richard studies me for a long moment, his eyes narrowed. I've seen that look before in the ER from family members caught in lies about how their loved one really got injured. He's calculating whether I know something. I keep my face blank. Concerned mother, nothing more. "Of course," he finally says, settling back into his chair. "Take all the time you need, Benjamin." But his hand slides into his pocket, and I see the glow of his phone screen illuminate his face from below. He's texting someone. 20 minutes pass. The conversation dies completely. We sit in uncomfortable silence, the jazz playing its mindless rhythm, the chandelier humming its warning note. At 23 minutes, I stand. "I should go, it's getting late." "Don't you want to wait for Benjamin?" Margaret asks. "I'll call him tomorrow." I gather my purse, checking that the USB is still secure. "Thank you for dinner." No one tries to stop me. Sierra walks me to the door with a politeness that feels like glass, smooth on the surface, sharp underneath. "I'm sorry he got overwhelmed," she says. "He's been under so much stress lately." "I know," I reply, though I'm not sure we're talking about the same kind of stress. "We love him, you know. All of us. We just want what's best for him." I meet her eyes. There's something pleading in them, something desperate. For just a moment, I see the 27-year-old girl who fell in love with my son, before whatever happened to turn her into this. Before her family's hooks went so deep, she couldn't tell the difference between love and possession. "I know you think you do," I say softly. Her face hardens. The moment passes. "Good night, Beverly." I drive home on autopilot, my hand shaking on the wheel. I try calling Benjamin 4 times. Each call goes straight to voicemail. His voice on the recording is cheerful, professional. "Hey, this is Ben Baker. Leave me a message and I'll get back to you." I don't leave messages. What would I even say? At home, I sit in my dark living room, phone clutched in my hand. I try calling 5 more times. 6, 7. By the 10th call, my hands are shaking so badly I can barely dial. The USB drive sits on my coffee table. I should plug it in. I should see what Benjamin thought was so important that he risked everything to give it to me. But I'm afraid. Afraid of what I'll find. Afraid of what it means that my son gave me his entire fortune and a secret he kept on a tiny piece of plastic. The clock reads 11:47 p.m. when I finally give in and reach for my laptop. That's when my phone rings. Unknown number. My heart stops. "Hello? Mrs. Baker?" A woman's voice. Professional, practiced. The kind of voice that delivers bad news for a living. "This is Deputy Collins from the County Sheriff's Office. I'm calling about your son, Benjamin Arthur Baker." The world tilts sideways. "There's been an incident. Your son has been found deceased at his residence. I'm very sorry for your loss." The drive to Benjamin's house feels like moving through water. Everything is slower, heavier, wrong. Red lights stretch for eternities. The sheriff's deputy's words loop in my head like a broken record. Deceased. Incident. So sorry for your loss. But I'm not processing loss yet. I'm processing the impossibility of it. 23 minutes. That's how long it took from the moment my son walked out of that dining room to the moment he supposedly died in his garage from carbon monoxide poisoning. 23 minutes. I've worked in emergency medicine for 3 decades. I know how long CO poisoning takes. I know the symptoms: headache, dizziness, confusion, loss of consciousness. I know you don't just walk into a closed garage, start your car, and peacefully die in less than half an hour. Blue and red lights paint the street in ugly colors when I pull up. There are 3 patrol cars, an ambulance, and the medical examiner's van. Neighbors stand on their porches in bathrobes, whispering behind their hands. A young officer with a clipboard intercepts me before I'm even out of my car. "Ma'am, this is an active scene. I'm going to need you to—" "I'm his mother." My voice sounds like it's coming from somewhere else. "I'm Beverly Baker. They called me." His face softens in that particular way people's faces soften when they realize you're the grieving relative. "I'm very sorry. If you could wait here, Detective Morrison will want to speak with you." Detective Morrison. I file the name away. I stand behind the yellow tape, watching. The garage door is closed, but I can see the seam of light underneath it. The side door, the one Benjamin walked through, is propped open with a brick. Officers move in and out with the casual efficiency of people who've done this before. That's when I notice the scratch marks. They're fresh, bright silver against the white paint of the garage door frame. Like someone forced the automatic door down manually, the emergency release scraping against the track. Benjamin's garage door was new. He'd had it installed last year after the old one stopped working. It had a soft close feature. It shouldn't leave marks like that. "Mrs. Baker?" I turned to find a woman in her 40s, dark hair pulled back in a severe ponytail, shield clipped to her belt. She extends her hand. "I'm Detective Laura Morrison. I'm so sorry for your loss." There's something in her voice that sounds almost genuine. Almost. "What happened?" I ask. She guides me a few steps away from the other officers, her hand light on my elbow. "It appears your son left his car running in the closed garage. Carbon monoxide buildup. It's more common than people realize. Sometimes folks are distracted, maybe had a few drinks. They forget. Benjamin doesn't drink and drive. It's an automatic response, mother defending son, but it's also true." "Of course." She nods sympathetically. "I didn't mean to imply. We're still investigating. But right now, everything points to an accident. A tragic accident." "Where was his wife?" Morrison's eyes flicker, just for a second, but I catch it. "Mrs. Baker was at her parents' house. She's the one who found him when she came home around midnight." Midnight, 3 hours after he left the dinner table. 3 hours and no one thought to check on him? "Can I see him?" "I don't think that's a good idea right now. The medical examiner is still—" "I'm a nurse. ER nurse, 30 years. I've seen worse than whatever's in that garage." I meet her eyes steadily. "I need to see my son." She hesitates, then nods. "Okay, but I'm warning you, it's not pleasant." She leads me through the side door, into the garage that smells like exhaust and death and something else. Something chemical that doesn't belong. Benjamin's Tesla sits in the center, driver's door open, the electronic screen still glowing with maps and music selections. But I'm not looking at the car. I'm looking at the workbench. Benjamin's keys sit there in a neat row. Car key, house key, office key. Not dropped, not scattered. Placed, deliberately arranged. "Those are his keys?" I ask Morrison. She glances over. "Yes. Why?" If he was sitting in his car with the engine running, intending to go somewhere or just sitting there distracted, why would his keys be over there? Morrison's expression doesn't change, but something behind her eyes shifts. She's calculating. Maybe he got out for a moment, realized he forgot something, and then got back in without his keys. Teslas don't work that way. You need the key fob to start them. "The car was already running," she counters smoothly. "Once it's on, you can remove the key." It's a reasonable explanation. Almost too reasonable. The medical examiner, a slight man with wire-rimmed glasses, approaches. "Detective, we're ready to transport." They wheel out the gurney with my son's body covered in a white sheet. I should cry. I should collapse. But all I feel is cold. spreading numbness and a terrible growing certainty that this was not an accident. Sierra appears from somewhere, her face streaked with... I look closer. Yes, tears, but her eyes aren't swollen, not red-rimmed, just wet, like someone who used eye drops to make themselves look like they'd been crying. She's wearing different clothes than she had on at dinner. A sweatshirt I've never seen before, yoga pants. Her hair is in a messy bun that's a little too perfect, a little too I just rolled out of bed in distress. Oh, Beverly. She reaches for me and I let her hug me because that's what's expected. She smells like expensive perfume and lavender soap, not like someone who's been crying for hours. I can't believe this happened. I just can't believe it. Her father materializes beside her. Richard Sullivan, his arm protectively around his daughter's shoulders. This is a terrible tragedy, he says to Morrison. Benjamin was under enormous pressure at work. We tried to tell him to slow down, but he wouldn't listen. That's not... I start, but Sierra cuts me off. He was drinking tonight. At dinner, multiple glasses of wine. Her voice cracks on cue. I should have stopped him from driving. I should have taken his keys. He had one glass, I say quietly. Maybe. You left early, remember? Sierra's eyes meet mine, and there's something hard behind the tears. A warning. You didn't see how much he had after. It's a lie, a smooth, practiced lie. But I can't prove it. Not here, not now, not with Morrison watching this exchange like it's a tennis match. Richard guides Sierra toward their car. His Mercedes is parked 2 houses down, I notice, like he was already here, waiting. Come on, sweetheart. Let's let the professionals do their work. Beverly, you should go home and rest. We'll handle the arrangements. I'm his mother, I say, and my voice finally has an edge. I'll handle my son's arrangements. Richard's jaw tightens, but he nods. Of course. We can discuss it tomorrow, after you've had time to process. They leave, Sierra leaning heavily on her father, playing the devastated widow. I watch them go, memorizing details. The way Richard's hand grips her shoulder, not comforting, controlling. The way she glances back at the garage with something that looks less like grief and more like relief. Morrison touches my arm gently. Is there someone who can drive you home? You shouldn't be alone right now. I'm fine. Mrs. Baker, I said I'm fine. I pull away from her touch. I need to go. I drive home carefully, deliberately, checking my mirrors every few seconds. When I pull into my driveway, I sit in the car for 10 minutes, making sure no one followed me. Inside, I lock every door, close every curtain. Then I take out the USB drive. My laptop boots up with agonizing slowness. I plug in the drive, and a password prompt appears immediately. August 14th. I type 081420. A folder opens. Inside are dozens of files, videos, audio recordings, documents, spreadsheets, each one labeled with a date and cryptic description. I click on the most recent video file, dated 3 weeks ago. The video quality is grainy, shot from an odd angle. Benjamin must have hidden a camera somewhere in his home office. I can see part of his desk, his bookshelves, and most of his living room. The timestamp reads 10:47 p.m. Richard Sullivan walks into frame, followed by Trevor. They're talking in low voices, but Benjamin's camera picked it up clearly. The policy is in place? Richard asks, settling into Benjamin's favorite leather chair like he owns it. Yeah. Trevor sprawls on the couch, beer in hand, always a beer in hand. 50 million, double for accidental death. Sierra's the sole beneficiary. My hands freeze on the keyboard. And the asset transfer documents? Richard continues. He won't sign. Says he wants his own lawyer to review them. Trevor takes a long drink. Stubborn bastard. Then we make him sign. Richard's voice is calm, matter of fact, like he's discussing a business merger. Or we move forward with the alternative. The alternative. Trevor says it like it's code for something they've already discussed. And if he doesn't... What, we make it look accidental. Richard leans forward. I know people. Medical examiner owes me a favor. Sheriff's deputy is my cousin's kid. Just made detective. eager to close cases quickly. It can be clean. I replay that section 3 times, making sure I heard correctly. We make it look accidental. My son wasn't just afraid. He was documenting a murder conspiracy. I click through more files with shaking hands. There are audio recordings of arguments between Benjamin and Sierra. My family built this life for us. You owe them. I built my company, Sierra. Me. Your father wants to steal it, and you're helping him. The sound of a slap, sharp and sudden. Then Sierra's voice, cold. Sign the papers or you'll regret it. Another video, this one from 2 weeks ago. Margaret and Richard in their kitchen, unaware they're being recorded. Benjamin must have planted a camera there too. I don't like this, Margaret says, wringing her hands. He's a good boy. There has to be another way. There is no other way. Richard pours himself bourbon. He refuses to cooperate, and the company is worth too much to just walk away from. Sierra signed a prenup. We get nothing in a divorce. But killing him? We're not discussing this again, Margaret. It's handled. You just need to keep quiet and play your part. Margaret's face crumples, but she nods. I sit back, my mind racing. Benjamin knew. He knew they were planning something. So he recorded everything, transferred his assets to the one person he trusted completely, and gave me the evidence. But he didn't know it would happen tonight. He thought he had more time. I'm about to close the laptop when I notice one more file buried at the bottom of the folder. It's labeled simply Morrison. I click it open. It's a screenshot of a Facebook photo, a family reunion. Richard Sullivan stands in the center, surrounded by relatives. On his left, a younger woman with a familiar severe ponytail. Detective Laura Morrison. The caption reads, Sullivan Family Reunion 2019. So good to see Cousin Laura. The room spins. The detective investigating my son's death is Richard Sullivan's cousin. The same detective who's already calling it an accident, who brushed off my questions, who's positioning everything to close this case as quickly as possible. I close the laptop and sit in the dark, my ER training kicking in. When faced with a trauma you can't fix immediately, you stabilize. You assess. You plan. I can't go to the local police. They're compromised. I can't go to the media. I have no credibility, just a grieving mother with conspiracy theories. I need to be smarter than this. I need help. I pull out my phone and scroll through my contacts until I find the name I'm looking for. Arthur Brennan. My late husband's attorney, retired now, but sharp as ever at 73. He and my husband went fishing together every Sunday for 20 years. He was at our wedding, at Benjamin's baptism, at my husband's funeral. If I can trust anyone, it's Arthur. I text him. Need to talk. Urgent. Not over phone. The response comes back within 2 minutes. My office, 8 a.m., I'll be there. I spend the rest of the night going through every file on the USB, taking notes, cross-referencing dates. By dawn, I have a timeline. 6 months ago, Sierra's family starts asking detailed questions about Benjamin's assets. 4 months ago, life insurance policy increased from $5 to $50. Sierra listed as beneficiary. Benjamin's signature looks wrong, too smooth. 3 months ago, family estate planning documents drafted, giving Richard Sullivan power of attorney over Benjamin's company in case of incapacitation. 6 weeks ago, Benjamin starts recording conversations. 3 weeks ago, Richard and Trevor discuss the alternative. 2 weeks ago, Margaret expresses doubts, is silenced. 1 week ago, Sierra demands Benjamin sign transfer papers. 2 days ago, audio recording. Trevor calls Richard. He won't budge. What now? Richard responds. The garage. CO poisoning. Friday night. Last night, my son dies in his garage, exactly as planned. At 7:45 a.m., I'm sitting in my car outside Arthur Brennan's office, the USB drive in my pocket, burning like a coal against my hip. He opens the door himself, white hair uncombed, concern etched in every line of his face. Beverly, come in. I hand him the USB drive. I need you to watch these videos, all of them, And then I need you to tell me how we bring them down. Arthur takes the drive, studies my face. What am I going to see? Proof that my son was murdered, I say, and proof that the people who did it think they were going to get away with it. He nods slowly. Then let's make sure they don't. Arthur Brennan watches the videos in complete silence. 3 hours pass in his small office, the only sounds the quiet hum of his computer and the occasional sharp intake of breath. When the last video ends, he removes his reading glasses and pinches the bridge of his nose. Jesus, Beverly. His voice is rough. Your boy was building a case, a damn good one. Can we use it? I lean forward, hands clasped so tightly my knuckles have gone white. Is it admissible? He's quiet for a long moment, lawyer's mind working through the angles. The recordings from his own house, absolutely. One-party consent state. But there's a problem. My stomach drops. What problem? Detective Morrison. He taps the screen where her photo still glows. If she's compromised, the whole local investigation is tainted. They'll bury this before it sees daylight. We need to go higher. How high? State level, maybe federal. Arthur leans back in his chair, steepling his fingers. Insurance fraud across state lines. That's FBI jurisdiction. Securities fraud if they were planning to take over his company illegally. We need to get this evidence to people who aren't on Richard Sullivan's payroll. How long will that take? Too long if we go through normal channels. He studies me carefully. But I know someone. Former prosecutor, now with the State Attorney General's office, Karen Hughes. We go to law conferences together. She owes me a favor. Will she believe us? Arthur gestures to the computer. After watching this, she'd be a fool not to. But Beverly... He hesitates, choosing his words with care. Once we do this, there's no going back. You'll be painting a target on yourself. Richard Sullivan has money, connections, and apparently no moral boundaries. Are you prepared for that? I think of Benjamin's hand gripping mine under the table, his trembling whisper, the trust in his eyes when he gave me everything he had. They killed my son, I say quietly. I'm prepared for whatever comes next. Arthur nods and reaches for his phone. 2 days later, I get the call I've been dreading. Beverly, this is Richard Sullivan. His voice is smooth, practiced sympathy. I know this is a difficult time, but we need to discuss Benjamin's estate. Can you come to our house this afternoon, 3 o'clock? We have our attorney here to help facilitate. My hand tightens on the phone. Arthur, sitting across from me in my living room, nods encouragingly. This is what we've been waiting for. Of course, I say, keeping my voice small and uncertain. Grieving mother, overwhelmed by logistics. I appreciate you handling the details. It's the least we can do. Family takes care of family. The call ends. Arthur immediately dials another number. Agent Torres, it's happening. 3 p.m. today. She's wired and ready. The FBI agent's voice crackles through the speaker. We'll be in position. Mrs. Baker, remember, get them talking. The more they say on tape, the stronger our case. I understand. And if at any point you feel unsafe, use the code word. We'll be inside in 30 seconds. The code word is thunderstorm. Benjamin's childhood fear. It seems fitting. At 2:55 p.m., I pull up to the Sullivan house for the second time in a week. The last time I was here, my son was alive. Now I'm wearing a wire taped between my breasts. My hands are steady, and my mind is crystal clear. Arthur meets me at the door, playing his role perfectly. Elderly attorney, slightly befuddled, just here to review paperwork for a grieving client. Sierra answers, dressed in black, her eyes rimmed with the same artificial redness I noticed at the crime scene. Beverly, thank you for coming. She hugs me, and I feel the wire press against my ribs. If she notices anything unusual, she doesn't show it. The living room has been transformed into a makeshift conference room. Richard sits at the head of the dining table, papers spread before him like a general planning a campaign. Margaret perches on the sofa, hands folded in her lap, eyes downcast. Trevor sprawls in an armchair, trying to look sober and almost succeeding. And there's a new face, a man in his 50s, expensive suit, briefcase monogrammed with DK. The family attorney, I assume. Beverly, Arthur. Richard stands, extending his hand. Thank you for coming. This is Douglas Kent, our family attorney. He's here to help us navigate the estate issues. Douglas Kent doesn't offer to shake hands. He's already sizing me up, calculating, categorizing. I'm just an obstacle to be managed. Please, sit. Richard gestures to the chairs they've positioned at the far end of the table, lower than the others, I notice. A subtle power play. I sit. Arthur settles beside me, pulling out a yellow legal pad with the slow deliberation of a man who's done this 10,000 times. Let's get straight to the point, Richard begins. Benjamin's assets need to be properly distributed. As his widow, Sierra is entitled to... Actually, Arthur interrupts mildly, there's a complication. Richard's expression doesn't change, but something flickers in his eyes. What complication? Benjamin established an irrevocable trust 3 days before his death. Arthur slides a document across the table. He transferred all liquid assets, approximately $50 million, to his mother. The room goes completely still. Douglas Kent snatches up the paper, scanning it rapidly. This can't be legal. A man doesn't just transfer his entire fortune. He does if he has the right to. Arthur's voice is pleasant, conversational. The company was his sole property, established before his marriage. No community property issues. The transfer was executed properly, witnessed, notarized. He was under duress, Sierra says, her voice rising. He wasn't thinking clearly. Was he under duress? I ask quietly, speaking for the first time. Or did he know exactly what he was doing? 4 pairs of eyes snap to me. I hold Richard's gaze steadily. My son was very smart, I continue, methodical, careful. When he did something, he had a reason. Beverly, Richard says, and now there's steel beneath the sympathy. I know you're grieving, but you need to understand, Sierra was his wife. They built a life together. That money should provide for her future. The future you planned for her? The words slip out before I can stop them. The temperature in the room drops. Douglas Kent clears his throat. Mrs. Baker, I'm not sure what you're implying. I'm not implying anything. I reach into my purse and I see Trevor tense, but I'm not pulling out a weapon. I'm pulling out a laptop. Arthur helps me set it up on the table, opening it to the video file we've queued up. The one from 3 weeks ago, crystal clear audio and video of Richard and Trevor discussing the alternative. I'm showing you what my son showed me, I say softly. The truth. I press play. Richard's voice fills the room. The policy is in place? 50 million double for accidental death? Trevor's response. Yeah, Sierra's the sole beneficiary. And the asset transfer documents? He won't sign. Then we make him sign, or we move forward with the alternative. Sierra's face drains of color. Margaret makes a small, wounded sound. Douglas Kent has gone very still, his lawyer's instincts screaming danger. But Richard just stares at the screen, and I can see him calculating, searching for the play that gets him out of this. Where did you get this? He asks quietly. Benjamin recorded you. I let that sink in. He recorded everything, every conversation, every threat, every plan you made to take what was his. This was edited, Trevor blurts out. Taken out of context. Would you like to see the full version? I click to another file. How about the one where you and your father discuss carbon monoxide poisoning? Or the one where Sierra tells Benjamin to sign the papers or he'll regret it? I play that one. The sound of the slap echoes in the silent room. Sierra starts crying, real tears this time. I didn't mean... It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Shut up, Richard snaps. Don't say another word. But Douglas Kent is already gathering his papers, his face pale. I can't be part of this. I'm leaving. Sit down, Douglas. Richard's voice could cut glass. I'm attorney-client privilege, Richard, not accomplice to murder privilege. Douglas clicks his briefcase shut. Find another lawyer. He's out the door in 30 seconds. The room settles into terrible silence. I let it stretch. Let them marinate in their fear. Then I play the final video, the phone call from 2 days before Benjamin died. Trevor's voice. He won't budge. What now? Richard's response. The garage. CO poisoning. Friday night. I'll handle Morrison. She'll rule it accidental. Margaret stands abruptly, her chair scraping harshly against the floor. I can't do this anymore. Her voice shakes, but there's steel underneath it. I can't lie anymore. Margaret, Richard starts. No. She turns to me, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I tried to stop them, but I was weak and I'm sorry. She reaches into her purse and pulls out a folder, sliding it across the table to me. The insurance documents. The signature is forged. I have the original, the one Benjamin refused to sign. I kept it. I don't know why, but I kept it. You stupid bitch, Richard hisses. I'm not stupid. Margaret's voice breaks, but she doesn't back down. I'm just done being a coward. That's when I say it. The word that changes everything. Thunderstorm. Richard's head snaps toward me. What? The front door crashes open. FBI agent David Torres enters first, badge held high, followed by state investigator Karen Hughes and 4 more federal agents. FBI! Nobody move! The next 30 seconds are chaos. Trevor tries to run for the back door and gets tackled by an agent. Sierra collapses into her chair, sobbing. Margaret doesn't move, just stands with her hands raised, waiting. And Richard looks at me with pure hatred. You wore a wire, he says. Not a question. A statement. My son wore a camera, I reply quietly. He documented everything you did and everything you planned to do. He just ran out of time to use it himself. Agent Torres is reading Richard his rights, but Richard keeps his eyes locked on mine. You have no idea what you've started. I will bury you in legal fees. I will destroy you. You already destroyed me. My voice doesn't shake. You killed my son. There's nothing left for you to take. Karen Hughes approaches me carefully. Mrs. Baker, we're going to need you to come to the federal building. Give a full statement. Of course. As they lead Richard out in handcuffs, he's still talking, still making threats. Trevor goes quietly, shock written across his face. Sierra begs to call a lawyer, her carefully constructed image shattered completely. Margaret walks to me before they escort her out. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, she whispers, but I hope Benjamin knows I tried to stop it. At the end, I tried. You're testifying? I ask. She nods. Everything. I'll tell them everything. Then you're doing the right thing now. That's something. She squeezes my hand once, then lets the agents guide her away. 6 months later, I sit in my living room watching the news report on mute. Former attorney Richard Sullivan sentenced to 25 years for conspiracy to commit murder and insurance fraud. His son Trevor Sullivan received 20 years. Sierra Baker, 15 years after cooperating with prosecutors. Margaret Sullivan granted immunity in exchange for testimony. I turn off the television. The cemetery is quiet in the late afternoon sun. I walk the familiar path to Benjamin's grave, carrying a single red velvet cupcake, his favorite since he was 6 years old. The headstone is simple. Benjamin Arthur Baker, beloved son, visionary leader. His truth became justice. I sit on the grass beside him, setting the cupcake on the stone. I brought someone to meet you, I say softly. Emily Chen, a 24-year-old developer Benjamin mentored, approaches hesitantly. She's holding a folder. Mrs. Baker, I wanted you to see this. She opens it carefully. Our startup got Series A funding, $2 million. I'm listing Ben as our angel investor in the cap table. His spirit is in every line of code we write. I read through the documents, seeing my son's influence on every page. The foundation we established, the Benjamin Baker Foundation, has given grants to 15 young entrepreneurs in 6 months. Kids from broken homes, kids who lost parents too young, kids who just needed someone to believe in them the way Benjamin believed in people. He'd be proud of you, I tell Emily. He'd be proud of you, she counters. You got justice for him. You protected his legacy. After she leaves, I sit alone with my son as the sun sinks lower. I kept my promise, I whisper. They're paying for what they did. And your money, it's helping people, just like you always wanted. A breeze stirs the leaves on the oak tree overhead. I could swear I feel warmth on my shoulder, like a hand resting there, like my son, one last time, telling me I did good. I stand, smooth the grass around his grave, and walk back to my car. In the rearview mirror, I can see the cemetery growing smaller, but I'm not looking back with grief anymore. I'm looking forward, to the next grant recipient, to the next young person who needs a chance, to the next piece of Benjamin's legacy taking root in the world. My son trusted me with his truth, and I protected it. This concludes The Silent Witness, a story of a mother's love, a son's foresight, and the quiet power of truth against corruption.